Okay, so now I'm laying out the rake wall. Um, it's a little different than when you're doing it on a wood deck. This is a garage floor. It's also different than doing it on a concrete slab, a house slab, because this is a garage floor, so it's pitched. The slab is pitched for the water to drain when you hose the garage out. So it's pitched across this way, pitched towards the center, and then pitched down this way to head out the door. So I kind of propped it up in the middle because of the concrete sags. I wanted to keep the plate kind of straight instead of having it dip down like an inch. Because it'll when you cover it with plywood with sheathing and it's warped down, it's going to be a lot harder to straighten it out once you stand it up to get that plate straight, because now all the nails from the sheeting are going to kind of lock it together. So it's just better to prop it up. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but I did put some blocking underneath to get the dip out of this plate. Now, I normally I don't do a rake wall with a plate in the middle. I just run the studs all the way up to the rafter. But because this garage, the two rake walls opposite each other are going to be tied together, which I'll show down the road when I get it framed, it's okay to have a plate here, because otherwise, if you don't have anything to support it, it's just a straight wall up with a plate in the middle. It's like a hinge point, right? So it's a weak spot in the wall. But because this wall is going to be tied to the other one with lumber running from the front of the garage to the back of the garage, it's okay, and it's a little bit faster. So anyway, so I got it framed. I got my calculations for my rafters. I made a pattern piece that I used to make all my rafters. I got my calculations off the internet. There's a website called, I think it's Bricklayer. I don't know, bricklayer.com. Anyway, you can put your calculations in there, your pitch, your run, and get your rise, get your rafter lengths and all that. There's rafter length calculators out there, so it's available online if you don't have a personal calculator to do it on the job site. You just go online and put in your dimensions. So I'm not going to go into all that. So that's done here, and then I'm just running these long for the rafter tails, and I'll go back later and I'll snap a line across all of them when they're all installed, and then I'll cut them off with the saw. I often will add this on as a second piece, but these are 12 footers that were long enough to do it. It's a little more work. To me, it's easier to scab a piece on there, because I don't have to get up on the ladder and with the circular saw and cut each one off. But it's just how it worked out with this particular setup. The garage is only 20 feet long, so it's not a lot. It's 16 rafter tails on each side basically, so not a big deal. But I'm also going to put the overhang on. So I'm going to finish this. I'm going to sheet it. I'm going to put the overhang on, but I'm going to run it wild. Run it long here on each side, and then I'll come back and cut it off. But at least the overhang will be on. So the 12-inch overhang all the way on up and all the way down will be on, and then it's just a matter of trimming the end of it and then putting the sub fascia on, which is a 2x4 that'll go across all the rafter tails once they're cut off. As far as like this here, so yeah, see here I just have it propped up so that everything lays a bit flat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's close. So I did it down here too. I just put some scraps underneath. I got it so that this is flush with, this is just in here loose, because this is going to be the wall that goes this way. That second top plate called a cap plate, that's going to tie in here, so this will come up, but it's just something for me to place there so I can get the proper location for these, how they'll be, and then I'll sheet it. It'll all be locked in place, and these little things will come out. And anyway, so that's down the road. Yeah, so what I did is I got this first one installed. I just used my square. I squared off of here with my tape measure. I measured up and got it cut, nailed it in place, and then to get the rest of them, once you get that one in place, then I just take my tape measure. So I measure over 16 inches. I make a line. I put a slash there so you know which side of the line that this is on, and then I go to 32 inch, 48, 64, 80, and on down. And then what I do is then I always measure my short point. It's just because I'm left-handed, so it's easy for me to measure the short point with it when I tip the saw and put it on an angle to cut this 18. It's a 412 pitch, so it's an 18 about an 18 and a half degree angle. So being I'm a lefty, so I always measure the short point. It's just easier for me to follow the line. So then I measure here, and I get that short point measurement. You can measure short point or long point, doesn't matter. I write that down on here, and I just do it as I go along. And then I go, and I cut all these pieces, and then now I'm going to nail them in. So I do get into sixteenths. Some people don't. I do. If I write anything at 16th measurement, so this is 25 and 1/16, I don't write the 16th. I don't write the 16th, the number 16. There's no reason to. I'd put whatever it is. It's 1/16. This is 1/16. So it's just one and a slash, right? So if it's 7/16, it's 7 and a slash. I know when there's a slash that it's a 16th. There's no reason to take the time to write the 16. I know it's not a big deal, but it's one of those things that adds up when you do this for a living. Anyway, so I just put whatever the 7 or whatever. If it's 3/4, I write 3/4. If it's 1/8, I do write 1/8. 1/4, 1/2, or whatever. It's just the 16ths. I just don't write the 16. I put the number of 16ths and then a slash. Anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of how this wall is going to go together. I've got my space here for my ridge. I just put a couple of nails in temporary. These will come out when I go to sheet it. Everything will be locked in place. I'll sheet it. I'll put the building paper on, put the overhang on, and building paper, the house wrap. And then I'll go and stand it up, and I'll probably put some 2x4s on the outside, temporary flat lays like that, just from here on down, just to keep this from bending, because when I lift, I'm going to be lifting from here, which this is a hinge point now, so I'll try to probably just nail some 2x4s across here, just till I get it stood up, just to keep this from not really breaking off, but bending badly, maybe getting out of whack. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of it on that. All right, back to work.